What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we have this Schecter 8-string Rob Scallon signature guitar, and it is a beautiful workhorse of a 8-string guitar. You might be wondering why it's missing a string and why there's a piece of paper under the nut, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second when we throw this thing on the bench. Here we go. Okay, so here's the Rob Scallon signature Schecter on the bench, and this guitar came off a 1-month-long tour. And it looks like one of the strings was broken, and maybe this guitar was kind of shelved after the string broke. Because the rest of the strings on the guitar are in really good condition. But the interesting thing about this guitar is that there's a piece of paper under the nut here. So that also means that this guitar probably has a different set of strings on than what it came with from the factory. And taking a quick look at Schecter's website, this guitar comes stock with the new Ernie Ball 8-string set. It's the light top, heavy bottom, so it's around a 9-46. Then a 64 for the B string, then an 80 for the low E. So that means that this string is probably lighter than the 64, which is why the piece of paper is in there. Now that is a good temporary fix when you're in a pinch, and not everyone has the ability to replace an 8-string nut. These are not really common. So the next best thing you do is going to be a technique that I show in this video on how to fill and fix a nut that is not cut properly, or a nut that is not sized for the string that you actually want. So without further ado, let's get right into fixing this guitar. So another thing that I noticed with this guitar, and with any other guitar in general, is that when you add Straplocks like these ones here, these are the Schaller ones or the Schaller ones, however you want to pronounce it, sometimes they're really easy to move. Even when I keep tightening this, the strap lock just seems like it's spinning and spinning and spinning. I'm going to show you another quick fix on how you stop your strap lock from spinning. That just means that the screw that comes with your new strap locks is a little bit too short, but this is a real easy fix as well, so then you can actually have your strap locks really secure in your guitar. Now the first step to fixing a nut slot that is cut too low or anything like that, what you're going to need is to tape off the area that you're going to be working with, so right above the nut and right below on the fingerboard, just so nothing gets messy while you're working. Now the only two things that you're going to need is a little bit of super glue, and you're going to need some baking soda. So what you're going to do is put a little baking soda into the nut slot. In this case it's going to be the 7th string, that low B string. And then you're going to apply a little bit of super glue into that as well, and then you let it dry, and that's kind of it. You let it dry, and then you take the new string. This is what I like to do. I like to take the new string that I'm working with, because it's going to be the exact size that we need, and then slowly kind of file it out until we get to where we need it to go. I'm going to show all that on camera, so then that should be pretty easy to follow along when you're fixing a guitar that has a nut slot that is cut too low, or when you're changing strings from heavier to lighter and you want to keep the original nut. In this case, it's hard to find 8-string nuts readily available without having to wait for them. I can't just go into a local music store and just buy one off the shelf and replace it. That would be great, but that's not the case in most scenarios, so we got to do a little bit of improvising. And here we have the Schecter Rob Scallon 8-string all finished up here. We addressed the nut issue, we addressed the tuner issue, and took the action down just a little. Otherwise, let's get to some specs. So we have a swamp ash body, or swamp ash wings rather, on the side here with a 3-piece mahogany neck through design. This is what it looks like on the back. The whole guitar is more or less unfinished. It's not like there's a top that hides all this. You could see the bare bones or the skeleton of the guitar kind of in plain sight, which is kind of cool for some. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, but since the colors are darker, they do blend pretty nice together. We have an ebony fingerboard with 24 stainless steel jumbo frets. We have also inlays from the 12th fret to the 24th fret, which is very cool. This is also a multi-scale design, so we have 25.5 inches up on the high E side, then we have 27 inches all the way down on the low E side in this case. We also have the Hipshot branded tuners. They feel great, and pretty well everything from Hipshot is great. You know, just like the Hipshot bridge down here, it's a fantastic bridge. It's kind of my go-to bridge for a hardtail. Volume and tone controls. The tone is a push-pull to then split the signature Schecter Rob Scallon humbuckers into single coils. 3-way toggle selector, and that's kind of it. We got side dots and everything, but that's pretty standard. And Yeah, that's kind of it. This is a pretty sweet guitar. It feels very light thanks to the Swamp Ash wings on the guitar as well. It's not like a cheap light kind of feeling, like it feels very well made. The neck is also a C-shaped neck. It also really reminds me of my 2011 Schecter ATX Blackjack 8-string, except this one feels maybe a little bit thinner and a little bit flatter as well. That's not saying that if you have an old Schecter, like this is better playing. It's just a different feel and a modern design. Generally speaking, the fret edges feel really good. The overall quality control and the fit and finish of this guitar is pretty awesome. It feels really good. I didn't have to do much to it right out of the box. You know, I like to have my action pretty low, so I took it down a little bit. Otherwise, you have quality components. You got a really good QC system over at Schecter and World Music, where this is made in Korea. Yeah, no real complaints so far. This thing is pretty sweet. Let's plug it in and see how it sounds. That's going to do it for today's video on the Schecter Rob Scallon signature 8-string guitar. And now, let's get to my final thoughts and opinions. First and foremost, this guitar is extremely comfy, it's very light, and it just kind of stays out of your way. I really like the control layout. The volume knob is kind of out of your way. The three-way toggle selector is kind of where it normally is for Schecters. I remember when I bought my first Schecter 8-string, the volume knob was like really like right by the bridge pickup, and I ended up removing it and putting everything back and putting all the other controls back just because I was hitting it so much. And it's nice that this volume knob is not really in the way per se. I mean, if your hand's all over the place, you might hit it, but if you're a pretty conservative player and your hand isn't all over the place, then that's probably not going to be an issue for you. One final thing I forgot to mention about the specs is that the parallel or the neutral fret is actually on the 5th fret, which makes chording on the lower frets right here way more comfy. It makes it feel more like a 6-string or like a standard scale guitar, which is a really nice attention to detail because a lot of multi-scale guitars, their parallel or their neutral fret is between the 12th and the 7th fret. It's a little higher up on the fingerboard, so having it up this way makes this part of the guitar much more normal to play, which is a very nice attention to detail. The only real complaints that I have about this guitar is that the aesthetic, for me, especially with the mahogany neck-through design, that being totally exposed on its own, that's just personally not my cup of tea. It's not my thing. The other thing is that the finish of the guitar, it gets dinged up pretty quick. There's already some pick marks on this guitar, and this is like kind of like a brand new guitar. It's made within the last like couple of years or so, and yeah, sure, it was on the road, but you can already see where this person was playing this guitar, and I know this guitar otherwise is mint, so bear that in mind if you are buying this guitar, and if you do like to take care of your guitars, that's something to watch out for as well when you're playing this thing. With all that being said, thanks for checking out today's video. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. It really lets me know that you like the things that I make for you. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on this guitar down below in the comments. I would love to talk to you guys all about this, or if you think there's another 8-string out there that rivals this, especially for the price point and for the specs and all of that good stuff. If you want to add this guitar to your collection, click the Toman link down below and use my affiliate link, and then you can get this guitar into your collection and riffing on it real soon. Thanks for checking this video, and I'll see you next time.